One, need for time and money to produce computing power, memory, and data to build and maintain AI systems. So on the DHS project, one of my main roles, in addition to managing it, was actually building out the things we were going to use to train the machine learning algorithm. That took a lot of time, and it's not obvious when you start just how long it's going to take, but you need literally upwards of 20 to 30,000 instances of a bad thing happening. And then you need the same number, if not more, of normal traffic so that the computer can learn to tell the difference.
Right. And then, and we're going to get into this more, but there's a concept called data poisoning too. And there can be inadvertent data poisoning and an inadvertent data poisoning where you are inadvertently or advertently training the AI to do something, to behave in an irregular fashion. And these things are hard to catch. Once machine learning model or AI is trained to do something, it's very hard to backtrack and figure out why that is the case. Even researchers don't understand why. And it just comes back down to the math and how the neurons and the state, you can look at it, you can look at the numbers, but it's hard to figure out why the numbers are the way they are after the fact. So it's a real issue.
I'm just going to interject a quick word about terminology here. We will use both AI and machine learning. Mostly, this is not actually what would be considered artificial intelligence, which is usually self-programming. We're really talking about machine learning and expert systems, but in the popular parlance, they're called AI, and so we will probably do the same, though often you'll hear me use machine learning and machine learning algorithm in place of AI, because there is a difference.
Well, and it will depend on what we're talking about too, because we're really kind of covering everything today broadly. Right. Broadly speaking, we're covering the whole spectrum. So
right, there is a difference, but just so you know, none of us are actually programming Skynet around here. We're not bringing on the Terminator or any of that. There are no regulations or industry best practices. That's because we're still very much in a research stage. We literally don't even know what will work. When we started, we had to play with different neural network topologies just to figure out what would even work. So there are no best practices because we don't know what works. So you have to be allowed to just try something else. Unfortunately, that means that we can't be certain that everything meets the same standards.
Which goes into trustworthiness.
Right. Trustworthiness and disinformation, as Alex was saying, you can poison the data either on purpose or, and again, in our project, well, I did this once by mistake. I sent data that made the machine take an inference that was incorrect. And it took until we tested it to discover, oh, no, that was wrong. And we had to retrain the machine.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we're going to have plenty of examples of ChatGPT here because it's very easily accessible to most folks these days. But it's an obvious one. ChatGPT will very confidently tell you something that is flat out wrong. And, you know, people believe what's on the internet, and that includes AI. And the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of similarities with someone who's confident in what they know and only knows so much. That ChatGPT is very similar in many respects. If you've ever tried to do anything math related in ChatGPT, and I've tried all sorts of things with ChatGPT, it will tell you that 2 + 2 is 5. Like, it will get things wrong, and not in a non-obvious ways too. So it's dangerous in that way if you want to rely on it.
As we mentioned, AI technology is susceptible to data poisoning and input attacks. And here's one that we're literally seeing already. It can be used by cyber adversaries to create more sophisticated attacks. We'll go into more detail on that in a moment. And then arbitrary decisions, mission misalignment. Look, computers, even forgetting that ChatGPT can lie to you with a straight face, computers are as good as their programming, but only as good as their programming. What that means is that sometimes we make mistakes in what we prioritize. And when that happens, the computer just keeps going with that mistake.